Hi, let's look at the answers to Module 3, Competitive Advantage. Looking at question 1, the answer is C. For everything to be direct competition, they would all have to be specifically for drone delivery under overhangs. On the other hand, we do have some potential future direct competition that we have to think about, and that is the people who have ways to deal with overhangs. So some of them are, it's possible that you would say there's no direct competition because they're not there today, and I would accept that. But the answer that I was looking for was C. Number 2 is A. Pygmalion's construction site caddy is an example of a potential future competition because it's specifically designed to deliver under overhangs, only instead of lowering the payloads being raised. Question number 3, the answer is D. You need to read the patent and look at the pictures to answer this. But if you open the patent and look at it's in Russian, so you're primarily looking at the picture, but you can clearly see that it has all the elements that we're looking for. Question number 4 is D. And the reason question number 4 is the answer to question number 4 is D is because we don't have enough information to determine which of these projects is the least useful. So we just don't know and least useful as a basis for what we're doing here. Similarly, in question number 5, we got one of these. We need more market research to figure this out, or actually in this case we might just call up people and talk to them, and be careful how we talk to them, but explore things. All 3 of them could be useful for collaboration. None of them may be. We just don't know. And some may be useful, but may be prevented from collaborating with us because they are doing other things. Some may be competitors who are interested in collaborating because they want to improve their product line, so they may be interested in joining with us to do it. Anyways, the answer to number 6 is A. That is, in fact, the function of the Inputs and Results tab in the workbook. The answer to number 7 is D. There's a whole slew of reasons why companies might keep what they're doing in new product development a trade secret, but and not discuss it. But we indicated this in the previous video as well, that you can't assume you're going to see everything that's going on out there. Question number 8 is B. It is indeed unusual for a product under development to perfectly meet every end-user requirement or every customer requirement. Typically, you're strong on some, weak on others. There's trade-offs. That's one reason for that. So if I want low power consumption, but the ability to fly very fast and lift very heavy things, that's going to increase power consumption. So there's a conflict there. So I have to figure out how I optimize and what's more important than the other, perhaps. The trick is to be as good as possible on the things that are most important to people. And if you have to make trade-offs with respect to the things that are of lesser importance. On number 9, the answer to 8 is B. The answer to 9 is A. C and D are obviously false. And if you think about it, B doesn't really seem plausible. I mean, really, the analyst was lazy? Well, one would hope not. Looking at number 10, this is pretty straightforward. You look at the chart in the results, or you look at the last column average on the input tab, and you can see who has the highest scores, and then you select the correct answer in number 10, which is the substitutes that seem to be among the most potentially serious. And this same kind of approach is used later on in question number 12, where the answer is C. Coming back to question 11, the answer is D. So 10 is A, 11 is D, 12 is C. And the answer to D comes by reading the tool description. It's in the tool description, so duh, it's D. Now, the next module deals with freedom to operate. Freedom to operate means if you go out and make, use, and sell this product that you're developing, you're going to be infringing somebody else's intellectual property, a patent, trademark, if you're selling it under that name, a copyright. You don't infringe trade secret, by the way, because trade secret is secret, so you can separately invent it. Now, somebody, who used to work for somebody, and then they come work for you and they say, oh, by the way, this is what we used to do over there, that may be infringing trade secret. But barring somebody illegally disclosing trade secret, you're not going to know about it. You're just going to independently invent, and that's not an infringement. But you do want to avoid infringing, and you're going to have to do some reading in this module, and I apologize for that. You need to understand about patents, and if you don't, you're going to have to read some background information, which we provide for you. The links are there. So you'll have to read that, and you got to read the patents, or it makes no sense. When you're reading those patents, remember, only the claims have legal force. The background sections help you understand the problem they're solving, why they think they're unique, and the drawings and descriptions illuminate the claims, help you understand the claims, but the claims are the important things. The claim is the most important claim. All the others clarify the first claim, expand upon it, and so on. So I claim a way to do X. I claim a way to do X using A, B, C, D, E, F. So that's what I mean by clarify and expand. I claim a way to do X. I claim a way to do X when it's raining, when it's sunshine, when it's misty. The classes that patents, every patent and patent application will cite which class it falls into, or a set of classes it falls into. Those are very useful for finding other similar patents, by the way. So if you're looking for similar patents, we're not going to ask you to do that here, but if you are, one way to do that is to see what patent classes the most relevant patents you found so far are in, and use those patent classes to look for new patents. Of course, you can always look at the definition of patent classes, but they tend to be pretty broad definitions, so sometimes you're like, well, does this really fit in there or not? Another thing to keep in mind, that there's a difference between a marketing consideration, a competitive advantage situation, and freedom to operate. Freedom to operate is about infringement. Given this claim, how does this claim map to what you're doing? Are they the same, or are they so close that you should have been aware that you're infringing this guy's patent if you took the time to look at what's out there in the patents? Two totally different approaches can create the same outcome and not be infringing. If my goal is to go from home to work, I can do it in a car, I can do it in a motorcycle, I can do it on a scooter, I can use a bicycle, I can walk, I can take a bus, I can take a taxi, on and on and on. Those are all different ways of achieving the same end, getting from home to work. So you have that kind of equivalent consideration in looking at competitive advantage, where it's all equivalent ways of, all ways of achieving the same end, but they're not necessarily all in the same technical approach or closely related. That's a concern only for freedom to operate. When you are doing a freedom to operate, the other thing you have to worry about is it just one patent or a set of patents I have to worry about? So, for example, if I see a patent for what's called a drop leaf table. That's where the end goes down like that. There's a patent for a drop leaf table, and I'm making drop leaf tables. I'm like, oh, I'm going to infringe that patent. I better license it if I want to make my drop leaf table. But the patent for a drop leaf table cites the patent for a three-legged table and a four-legged table. So I may have to, if I'm going to make a three-legged table, license the three-legged table patent, or a four-legged table, I'm going to have to license that four-leg table patent. So one patent builds upon prior art. If the prior art's relevant, you got to license not only the one patent that you find, but the prior art patent as well. So be aware of that. The other thing to be aware of is sometimes you can invalidate a patent, so there is no freedom. It's so that you don't have to worry about infringing it. So that takes place if the technology and the invention has already been disclosed prior to the patent being issued. Now, there's some limits on when you can disclose things and when not, so let's assume that this is not falling within those exceptions. So, for example, many years ago, I worked for a multinational company. They had a patent portfolio they wanted me to evaluate, and there was a patent that had two voltages, a plug with two voltages. They thought it was pretty clever, and there was a patent issued on it. I unfortunately discovered that in 1950, which is about 30 years before they filed their patent, somebody was already selling it commercially. That means the patent examiner made a mistake when they said it was novel. The attorney made a mistake because they didn't look at what was out there. They probably only looked at the patent literature. But it didn't matter. The patent could be invalidated, so it was as a product, it may still have value, but as intellectual property, it was worthless. Finally, we're going to ask you to do some work filling out parts of the template in this exercise. Don't freak out. Freedom to operate seems confusing at first, but if you read all the material, you'll get your hands around it, your arms around it. It's basically a mapping exercise saying, is this similar enough to this that there's a freedom to operate issue? And we're just asking you to say, nope, none at all. Yep, there's almost definitely one, or maybe there is. So we're not asking you to make nuanced decision calls. So good luck, have fun with it. It's an interesting field to begin to work in, and enjoy learning how to read patents, and I'll talk to you at the end of this exercise. Bye.